Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Studio 6 Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Hill, with my co-host, Shane Peak. We are currently waiting for our guest, Amanda Quill from Coldspotters to appear. In the meantime, why don't we talk a little bit about what we have going on? Shane, I heard that you have something going on that you're working on, that you're building right now.
Yep. Yeah, so I've been working on some projects a little bit outside the paranormal,
Okay.
but this is a big power amplifier for high-end home audio.
Oh,
And so I've been designing that. I got the designs done. I did some sound tests today. My hope is over the 4-day weekend of Thanksgiving that I can have a solder blitz or whatever you want to call it, a binge soldering.
yeah.
And try to get the whole project done. We'll see what happens. If it does, it does. If it don't, well, I'll just do it and keep working. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that.
Actually, I haven't really had too much been going on. It's just been working a lot lately, and actually possibly have a investigation happening in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, which is an old funeral home. So
Sure.
in a couple weeks, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. Giving a shout out to my buddy Josh Hughes, the camera guy, who's very good at what he does, and so I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, I haven't really been doing too much of anything, but not today. I watched the Packer game lose at Minnesota, which kind of sucks, but I kind of it's always been a tough game between the two anyway, so it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't a blowout or nothing, but
Sure.
yeah. Since you're in Michigan, are you a Detroit fan?
I mean, everybody has to be because you're in Michigan.
Yeah.
They kind of suck for the most part. I mean, they don't win, so
Right, yeah.
so we just live with it. It's like, okay.
Do you have a backup team that you like?
Nah, I'm not so much of a sports person. So,
No. Okay.
yeah, I'm more, I mean,
Yeah.
nerdy stuff, but not sports so much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been kind of crazy here. I'm doing a show next week, and I'm actually going to be on Adam Begins' radio show the weekend in a couple weeks as well.
Yeah, Adam's cool.
Yeah, Adam actually has got blessed with his new radio show, and I am so excited for him, and I think that he's doing a fantastic job. He's had a couple of great guests already.
I've seen he's been traveling all over the place. I see his Facebook posts.
Yeah, he's got.
Every time he's got a picture between some other building.
Yeah, I mean the history that he knows is just incredible. I mean, he's basically just anywhere he goes, he could tell you anything and everything about that place.
That's cool.
So yeah, which is why we loved having him on the last time, just because the fact that he was just full of knowledge, and it was a lot of fun, and I hope to have him on again soon. Yeah, and I think that we have a couple of shows hopefully in January. I can't believe it's almost becoming Christmas. I mean,
I know.
I'm not even ready for Christmas. I'm barely ready for Thanksgiving, let alone Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
I just look at it as the month of vacation days, because I got 3 weeks of vacation to burn.
Yeah.
So I'll be off of work most of the time.
Right.
The month of December, anyway.
Yeah, I think I'm off. I'm off for the 4 days for Thanksgiving, but I think I'm also off. I think 4 or 5 days for the week of Christmas, just because we do a shutdown at my company. But
yeah.
But when I do work, I get double time and a half, which is nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cha-ching.
I took off all the Fridays till the end of the year. It's great.
I bet. Yeah, I used to work, get off at noon on Fridays, but then they switched my hours, so now I'm back to work 8 to 8:30 to 5, which sucks because I got an hour drive to work, but especially in the wintertime when the storms start coming in up here in Wisconsin, and what we get, you pretty much get.
Yeah, we get it like 6 hours later, but we get it.
Yeah. So
So you'll have to tell me when the storm comes in.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Send me a
I
message and I'll know.
I'll be
about 6
sending
hours
you.
to go get some groceries.
Yep. Send you a text saying it's on its way. You
Yep.
know, I mean, it's just I think this year is going to be a bad year, anyways.
Yeah, I've heard that. Well, the Farmer's Almanac had mentioned that it was going to be, at least for our little region, it was going to be very cold and reasonably dry. Now, down south and along, the southern areas, they're going to get the opposite. They're going to get warmer than normal and just wet slop. So I don't know which is better, but we're supposed to get the cold and dry. So I got plenty of wood split, so I guess I'll be all right,
Yep. I'm not looking forward to it, but I had somebody contact me the other day about doing a minute, like a little video of what paranormal means to me, and they were actually going to put it in a segment, kind of like a documentary, which I kind of think is cool. I mean, I think there's a lot of people out there now, I mean, are doing all the documentaries and the paranormal, which is cool because I love documentaries.
Oh yeah, me too.
The information that you get from it, and as well as, you get to see some of the different opinions and different things like that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I was supposed to actually do that today, I think. Yeah, today, and I'll send it tonight. But, so yeah, I mean, there's some things in the work here, and I still got to work on my mediumship page for Facebook. I've been kind of being a little bit lazy on that front, just because of the fact that I've been dealing with issues with my car and stuff. And but it's just, if it isn't one thing, it's another.
Yeah, recently we've been doing public ghost tours at the Van Buren Poorhouse Museum.
Oh, okay.
And our last group was huge. It was like 30 people. It was almost, it was like so much we didn't have enough investigators to break them into small groups. So, and of course, a lot of the rooms in that building are kind of small, like, 10 by 10. So you got 30 people, you ain't putting them all in there. So they have to kind of go in and out in shifts. I've noticed, this is one thing I've noticed. When you have large groups like that, the activity just plummets. It's like, you don't really get nothing.
Yeah, there's too many different,
and usually when it's big groups like that, I don't take the time to do all the board science and all that stuff, because it's just, so we did more of the, let's just do some EVPs and, play around with some cat toy kind of things, and, some of the little basic simple stuff.
Right.
And just, because that many people and they just want to see what's going on. And, we give a presentation and stuff, and the presentations they seem to really like. And I bring the board, of course, so they can see it at the presentation, kind of tell them about what it does, how it works, what happens, how we analyze the data a little bit. And so that worked really well. And then, of course, like I said, we did the basic, sit around and have people call out and do EVP stuff. It's all you can do when you get that many.
Right. So I think we have Amanda here.
Oh, great.
Hello. Amanda.
Hello. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay. No, we were just talking amongst ourselves about how crappy the weather's going to be up here, and soon.
And she's going to get it worse if she's up in Canada.
Yeah.
It's actually been pretty horrible. We've had some pretty bad floods and storms out here. So we're I think all of Vancouver right now is still kind of shut off from the rest of Canada. So
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So we're loving it.
Yeah. We haven't had that too much yet. I mean, but it's with the snow that we get. I get it first, and Shane gets it because he's right next to me.
I'm right on the opposite side of the lake, Lake Michigan.
Yeah. So yeah. So now that we have you, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you have that you've been doing lately? Okay. I mean, a lot of people who really don't know exactly Coldspotters or what they do. I've read the bio, and the things that you were doing were fantastic. I mean, the way you reach out and adventure people and all this other stuff. Can you touch a little bit on that whole aspect of what you do and why you're doing it, actually?
Well, our main objective is just to kind of bring what is not really accessible to people to people. I think that within the paranormal and a lot of when it comes to having experiences or being interested in this is, we're a bunch of weirdos, or it's a lot of ego as well. So we try to make it that it's accessible for everyone. So if you're having problems, or if you're having experiences, there's people that you can talk to. At the same time, if you want to be investigating and you want to learn more about it, there's people that you can talk to and learn from too, without having to fill out all the applications and be somebody. Let's say, I mean, we're all somebody in this world. So that's my main objective with Coldspotters.
Okay. What year did you start Coldspotters?
Coldspotters started in 2012.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's been around a while.
Yeah. So we have been active now. Myself, I've been investigating and working like since the 90s. Not to age myself here.
Right.
But,
We're all
that's okay. I can relate. That's okay.
Yeah.
And I've done it like throughout Canada. I've lived in Vancouver, in Edmonton, in Montreal, like close to Ottawa as well. So I've been throughout all of Canada doing this. But I found that there was a change when certain things on TV started happening, being TV shows. And when I came back to Vancouver, the place that I actually was established, all of a sudden it was like, what team were you with, and who you affiliated with? And that wasn't really my experience in the paranormal prior to certain shows being on
We've
TV.
all seen this.
Yeah, exactly. That change.
Yeah.
So that's why I started Coldspotters.
Okay. Can you say that now, have you investigated in the U.S. as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you said you're from Edmonton?
I'm originally from Winnipeg, but I pretty much grew up here in Vancouver.
Okay. Talk about a little bit about some of the hot spots or places that you would know that are to be very active in where you're at right now.
Well, where I am, we're a little bit of a hotbed of activity, which is kind of cool. We have the perfect climate for it. We're constantly raining. Also, we have a pretty jagged history, let's say, of the changes that's gone on our land, and yeah, just through, let's say, mysterious happenings. We also have a very strong tie to the land. So, I don't know what's happening here. If that's me,
It's working.
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
When it comes to different, kind of like even like cryptid activity and our beloved Sasquatch and stuff too. So here we have a lot of great locations. I live in New Westminster, which was our original. It's our original capital here. So we have a lot of the old historic buildings here too. So along the railways, the original insane asylums, we have the BC Pen here as well too. So we've got lots of playgrounds.
Lots to choose from.
Yes.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the land. Can you tell us a little bit about the history, a little bit of the land of the area that you're around and where you've investigated?
Well, right now I'm on unceded territory of the Cape Coast Leash here, and we have all the way out through our Fraser Valley and such too. We have big connections to a lot of lore and a lot of legends, being Sasquatch, Stickman. We have a lot of connections. With some that we don't really speak about too much too, that are connected to the spirit world, and yeah.
Okay. Okay. The name that I'm getting in my mind right now is one of them is the Wendigo. Yeah. I don't know why that popped into my head, but it just kind of was there. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Well, I am Cree, so Wendigo's a big one for us, and the little people as well. Seitu is here as well too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
I said the Niwak are pretty tough people. They lived up there in that north for so long.
Yeah, gotta be.
Yeah. Right. So talk a little bit about how you got started in this, or what happened to you, or what you have experienced that made you want to kind of follow this path.
Well, I think that it was just the path that I was kind of placed upon. Um, at the same time, I had a fascination from a very young age with ghost stories, and
Hmm.
just absolutely just ate every single ghost story up that I could,
Right.
and I would just like spend hours even in the library looking up different ghost stories or different legends in different areas. I was absolutely obsessed from a very young age. And then I think it just came to me that like, wait, what if these stories are true? And
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
kind of what opened up that part. I came across a book in the library when I was about 6 or 7 years old that I didn't understand, and I wish I could find the exact book and know what it was called. And but it was actually a ghost hunting book, and it was about the investigation. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was something else. I knew that it was way too advanced for where I was, but
Right.
I was
Right.
like, that was probably what actually opened up my eyes that this could be real. These aren't just stories.
Right.
Um, and then I moved into I was actually a ward of the court, so I grew up in group homes and different foster homes, and I moved into a home about 15 years old where there was a lot of activity,
Hmm.
and in East Vancouver here, and that was something else. I talk a little bit about it in Peter Round's book. He did a book about different investigators, what we want to believe. So I did talk about a little bit in that one, but yeah, it was a lot of poltergeist activity, which I didn't understand at that young age. I lived there
Hmm.
from actually about 14 to 15, and I think that gave me a broader understanding of, yeah, this is real. And I mean, I always wondered, would I be afraid if I ever came across it, or would I be,
Hmm. Hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
out of here? Forget this. I'm going to
Right.
read other books. Babysitting
Right.
club, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I wasn't, and I was really confident in it. And then it was about a year or so after that I helped my first family here in Vancouver, dealing with what they had in their house. And there's two women out here that did a lot of the more investigation style things, and they would bring me if there was children involved, or if there were younger people involved, being that I was 16 and 17. So that's
Hmm.
how I got started investigating.
Oh wow. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Hmm.
So, would you say that you have gifts?
Of course, I have lots of gifts. I have puppies, and no,
No.
I love presents.
No.
Yes, I'll put up my address. No, I feel like I have a definite draw to energy.
Okay.
I feel energy quite a bit. I used to really not understand that. I used to feel that it was almost like a social anxiety
Yeah.
when I walked into places
Yeah,
or
I
when
can
I
totally
passed
relate to
someone.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it took me a long time to understand. It was actually one of my past leads in an investigation team, and he actually brought it to me and said, like, why don't you use that as an investigation tool? And I was like, I didn't even think that the two were
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
related. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
so I definitely owe that to him to kind of like bring that up
Right.
and say, hmm
Yeah. Because I see that light in you, and it's a very strong, powerful light, and it's
oh,
so
that old line.
yeah. No. 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 Seriously. I mean, and that is something that, with you being in this field of the paranormal, I just think that
Hmm.
that is a. Do you feel that if you go to a location, do you feel something drawn to you, or do you feel something drawn around you, or do you feel drawn to something?
I do, or I don't know if it's an understanding though. It's like um I know there's a clear name for it, but it's like that knowledge or knowing. You just know.
Hmm. Right. Right.
Um, and I usually take to sometimes I'll actually separate from my team, and I'll go into a location first and kind of wander around, and if I'm already picking up on things, I actually will say, hey,
Yep.
like kind of
Right. Right.
give my team something, and
Right. Right.
it sounds a little odd, but yes, yeah, I definitely.
Okay, I was just curious about that because I actually experienced the same thing. It's more of a knowing than anything
Yeah.
else,
Hmm.
or reading pictures, and which was new to me 4 months ago, and I was just,
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many different levels of not levels, I guess, different things people can do and people experience that I was curious how exactly did you experience, because everybody's different. So,
Yeah.
just, curious. So,
So I have a question.
okay.
So
Hmm.
I was just wondering how your Niuoq or Cree heritage kind of plays into it, because I used to have friends up in the Hudson Bay, and I would go up and invite and visit them, and they would have all kinds of Cree and Niuoq stories, and they would talk about the spirits of the animals and all that kind of stuff. So has that had any influence or anything on the way of your investigating?
I think it has. I'm a little unique as I was part of what's called the 60 Scoop. So I actually grew up without my heritage, and I grew up without my family and that side
That,
of
yeah.
who I am. Um, I have recently reunited, and it was actually kind of cool because when I first um, reunited, I did say, well, this is kind of what I do, and I'm involved in this, and my family said to me, they were like, oh, we're wondering where you were. There's one in every
Yeah.
generation. And I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
oh, yeah. So
So have you tried to learn their language yet?
I'm learning. I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah. I learn a little bit. I have a great auntie that we speak Cree, and we have a very like kind of unique dialect too.
Yeah.
So that
It's when I
that
was
kind
up
of
in the
adds to
Hudson
it.
Bay, there were trading posts up there that were run by those people. And then so
Mhm.
they would speak in their language, and they'd say some stuff, and then they'd come back and speak kind of in broken English. And I mean, it was very good experience, you
Yeah,
know.
Right.
yeah. It's really. Woo, I don't know what that was. Just kidding. That was my cord.
So yeah, so you talked a little bit too about like Sasquatch, and all that.
Mhm.
What are your views on cryptics?
I like.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at
Okay.
that. No, I'm kidding. I did. It's funny because I've been talking to Rob quite a bit about Sasquatch and just the tales, and because he's quite interested up here,
Hmm.
and just that view of whether or not we should leave Sasquatch alone, and view of whether or not our tales and our history
Hmm.
um, plays into whether or not we should be hunting
Yeah.
Sasquatch. And
Right.
Well,
I mean,
you're in the
I
hot
don't.
spot area,
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean,
definitely
for
are.
us, northern Washington would be, they have tons of sightings, and so
Hmm.
you guys are not far.
No,
Right.
no,
Right.
we're right there. We're right
Yep.
there, and we
Yeah.
have a lot of local communities that work with that legend quite
Sure.
intensely. Um, my view on it, honestly, is I don't think that we're hunting Sasquatch. I think that if we're lucky enough that we see Sasquatch, then that's something that they've let happen.
Hmm.
I
Sure.
Yeah.
don't think that we're any I don't think anyone's finding Sasquatch anytime
Yeah.
soon unless Sasquatch
Right.
wants to be found.
I
Yeah.
kind of feel
Hmm.
the same. I just think that it's, if we're lucky enough or fortunate enough to see,
Hmm.
it's that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah,
Nobody's ever caught one. Nobody's ever,
No.
no,
got.
but they seem to catch us quite easily.
Yeah.
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 Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We have, even down here where I live, we have there's been a book written on it called the Bray Road Beast,
Mm.
and it's similar. I live 15 minutes from that road. I mean, I've talked to people that said, "Oh, we've seen it, blah blah blah," and it's like,
Yeah.
I don't have that much of an interest in it. You know what I mean? If
We get
it's,
the Michigan Dog Man. He's
yeah.
our
Yeah.
he's
So I
our
think that every state has a story,
sure.
and
Hmm.
I think that it's a lot of it. I think a lot of it is fabricated, but I think there's probably a handful that are, valuable information. You know what I mean? That's some truth to that.
Yeah.
But that goes also with the paranormal. You know, I've been to places where people say, "Oh, this place is super haunted," and then I research it or I look it up or I go to it, and there's really just nothing there but residual energy.
Right.
You know, so now you're able to tell the difference between the residual energy and the shifting energy, right? I mean, the energy that you know that is actually present.
Right.
You have that gift to be able to discern between the two.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, definitely. At the same time, I mean, I don't rely on that gift per se
Right.
to
Right.
explain things. But I think it can get a little tricky where it's like if it's like I think the best way for me to say is back in the day I used to be like, no, not haunted, no, 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 and just kind of
Right.
like
Right.
you
And
know
leave it at
like
that. Right.
yeah, just leave it at that. And then people don't really like that, and they don't really like that kind of. It's like when someone shows you a picture of their
orb.
Thank you. Yeah, and you're just like,
Maybe
and you
not an orb.
explain, yeah, not haunted. This is what it is. They don't
Right.
really like
Right.
that. So,
Yeah, I fight that continuously.
yeah.
In the
So
science
I
of
think exactly it is a bit of a fight, but it's also being able to learn how to let people know why this is not just a residual energy, or why
Mm-hmm.
this is not not a
Right.
haunted thing. This is just the way that
Right.
the energy flows through here too.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So
I mean, and a lot of it is the history of certain locations too play a big part of that. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
all the emotional history. You know, I mean, you know that old saying, "If walls could talk," you know, and
They can
literally,
sometimes, evidently.
yeah, you know, I mean, so that whole aspect of that, I truly believe that that energy, that emotion can attach itself to certain locations because
yeah.
that's a form of energy to me.
Mhm.
And you know, I've been able to walk into a house where I feel kind of like all of a sudden I'll walk in and I'll feel beside myself. I mean, it's a bizarre feeling,
Mhm.
but I know that there's some type of energy there. But a lot of it has to do with the residual or leftover
Right.
residues, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I walked into a friend's house years ago, and I just felt all these different emotions and all this other stuff, but I know they weren't mine. But come to find out that an abusive family lived there, and a
Right.
lot of the yelling and the abuse and all that stuff was there, even though they weren't there anymore. It was just like
Mhm.
I said, if walls could talk. I mean, that negative energy or all that, especially negative energy, all that negative emotion
Mhm.
can just attach itself, So I mean, it's just I think the history of certain locations can play a big role in that.
Yes.
Is that your trained by you or is that you, Shane?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me.
That's all
I'm
good.
like, wow, that's
We like
wow.
trains.
Yeah,
Actually,
we
the
love
train
trains
is,
here.
Ghost train.
yeah,
Yeah.
the previous podcast that I used to have had a guy that lived literally next to the train tracks, and
That's
I'm
me.
used to this. This is normal for me.
Okay.
Every podcast had at least one
Right.
train.
Yeah.
So that's
It's not
good.
a coincidence, Shane.
No. So, so I have a
Now,
question,
Yeah.
Amanda.
Mhm.
So, what is your typical investigation style? Are you, what kind of stuff do you use? Do you not use equipment? Do you use equipment? Do you have your own type of style?
I depends where we are.
Okay.
Number one, it does depend what we are, what we are. That didn't make any sense, but it depends where we are, where we're going, and what we're looking for. Myself, I can get a little bit militant about getting the readings and getting everything mapped
Yeah, that's
out.
my girl right there. My girl.
I'm I've actually pulled out blueprints before to actually map out locations.
nice.
That's sweet.
I my leadership style, my nickname for quite a while was Captain Hardass.
Well, hey,
So I definitely I do have that style, but at the same time I I'll go in with like a to-do list. This is what we're going in for. This is what we're going in to find. This is why we're trying to find it, and this is what's kind of where we're up against.
okay.
Um, we'll go through and do those things. At the same time, I mean, I have a team that also has their own theories. They have their own wants and needs.
Yeah, everybody does.
Right.
Exactly. So I kind of let them have their fun time too.
Sure.
When it comes to equipment, I'm really big myself on audio.
Okay.
We do use like the old data DVR system, but
Sure.
that's just because I want to see where everyone is and I want to be able
Yeah,
to.
it's for safety more than for ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm a big on the perimeter checks too.
Yeah.
But that's just because I'm a wimp. No, I always think that someone's going to mess with us. Like that's
Oh
my
yeah.
main thing. I
Yeah, and I've
think
always
it's something
I
else.
always
You
worry
know?
about that, you know. And so
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
I'm kind of the opposite. I do a lot of automated data logging and environmental monitoring. I
Yeah.
don't do so much EVPs, not that we don't ever do them, but for the most part,
Mhm.
you know, I'm looking at numbers as my
Right.
style. You know,
Yeah.
where like Jay and I are the yin and yang. He's the, oh, let's just do all the spirit stuff, and then I'm do the, well, let's get some hard numbers and do some statistics kind of guy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're the, that's why we started this show, is because we're the exact opposites.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That
Right.
I
is
always like to
awesome.
query our guests to figure out where they're at in the
Mhm.
spectrum.
Yeah. The
Right.
one thing that I can honestly say that I'm not big on is I'm not big on the gimmicky stuff. Like I'm not
Oh yeah, thank you
big.
very much.
Yeah, I'm definitely
'Cause
not
there's some
like.
bad stuff. I won't
Yeah.
even name it, but there's
SB,
bad
no.
stuff. Just toys,
No,
basically.
yeah, I'm
Right.
not big on those or the obelisk, that kind of.
Oh
If
yeah,
you
me
can't
either.
explain to me why and how your equipment's working,
Yeah,
then
just like the
leave it at
SLS
home.
thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have someone on the side being a brat. But anyway. But yeah, no, I definitely I want to know why and how things are working. Like I'm
Right.
one of those
Awesome.
people that yeah.
That's
Mhm.
music
Right.
to my ears.
Right.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah.
people just blindly go with whatever's in their hand and they do it, and it's like, okay, we
Yeah.
know what it does.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And now, in that sense too, I like to go to a location, and I want to be able to also, after I'm there, is research the history to see if what I pick up is there's actually any evidence of that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like saying there was a child there was something there that was, how old they were, blah blah blah, the whole 9 yards, and then get that validation that way. Now I can't say that I've never used equipment. I've used different types of equipment.
Yeah.
Right now I don't use really anything. I mean, I have like 2 small cases full of stuff that, that I don't use or that I haven't used,
That's just because
and
you don't want to carry stuff, right?
yeah, right. Well, and then my wife just said to me the other day, "Aren't you gonna clean that out of the closet, put it in the basement or something, or sell it, or do something?" I'm just like, okay. So, so I basically I like that history aspect of it, to research that, to find out,
Mhm.
but I want to experience that firsthand with my gifts, so that I could tell, and validate afterwards, the saying, yes, this is what's here. This is, so I rely a lot on my gifts.
Yeah.
And I have even on my phone, I have a recorder in which I use, and sometimes I run during my show. Sometimes if I'll pick up a little voice or something here, because
Yeah,
I
I've
know that
gotten
there's
stuff on my phone.
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, you don't need to buy an expensive Zoom, handheld, EVP recorder or recorder
Yeah.
or whatever, and then I think the phone works just fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
yeah.
the one thing that like we will constantly be asked. It's like, what do we need to buy? What do we need to? And it's like, you got a phone?
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It
Rob
takes
always says
pictures.
you gotta
It records audio.
exactly. You got a flashlight on it? You're good.
Right.
It'll even do EMF if you got the right phone.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I was at a cemetery and caught a really good EVP when I asked the question.
Mhm.
On my phone, I got a name, clear as day.
Mhm.
So I thought that was, I didn't need to have all these extra
Sure.
recorders.
Yeah.
And I think that number one, everybody's different. Don't get me wrong, folks. I mean, everybody who's watching this, I mean, to each his own. Whatever you want to use, that's what you use, and
Mhm.
I respect that. You know what I mean? So I just, I'll try different things here and there, but I just don't want to rely on one specific thing all the time.
Yeah.
I don't want to limit myself.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been
I
waiting for
appreciate
Shane
that.
to. Yeah, I've been waiting for Shane to create something for me. I don't know
Yeah.
what, but
See, I don't have the gifts, so I have to rely 100% on technology, basically,
right,
for the
right,
most part.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I truly believe too that there's certain frequencies that we can reach spirits on. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
that's what I love about different kind of like equipment and different like levels of equipment. You can buy like a cheap little recorder or have like the most expensive recorder.
mhm,
I mean, I have a few Zooms, and then probably the most expensive recorder that I own is probably I dare I say it out loud, crappiest equipment.
yeah,
You
yeah,
spend how much money for a DR60 and then how much money for a little,
right,
Olympus. So, and
right,
it's like
right.
what you're going to get. So it's like,
sure.
I love audio though. So
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
yeah, I
I'm
will
all
spend
about
money on
audio.
audio. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just with what Shane builds, that board, the device that you built
What you
is
build?
basically he's built
Yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah,
so I
tell her about it.
basically I build my own equipment. I do a lot of electronics,
Yay!
and
Cool.
so I
We will
built
talk
because I got
later.
tired of having like an entire van full of stuff. I put it
Mhm.
all on one board as sensors. So it does 26 different environmental sensors.
Okay.
We're talking temperature, barometric pressure, ions, EMF, radiation. I mean, just about everything that you can think of that's detectable, it detects.
Mhm.
And it logs it every second with a date timestamp.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
then I use a video camera, overlooking the board,
Mhm.
partly to keep pranksters out, and and partly, so I know what's going on. And so then I can sync that camera to the data. So if I see something happen physically in the environment, I can go at the data and see if I see a blip in the data. Or usually I see some kind of blips in the data, and it's like, all right, what was going on when that happened? And
Right.
most of the time, it's some other investigators walking through the room,
Mhm.
or just who knows what's going on. Somebody left the door open and it's getting cold in there, all kinds of
Yeah.
strange things. But the idea is, for me, is to take the human bias out of it,
Right.
so that it's just raw data, and then do statistical analysis on that data to say, okay, it's literally the what they like you call the blind study in medical world, where you're going to say you got a control group, which was a place that isn't thought to be haunted and has
Right.
basic stuff, and then you take it to this location, or you do an EVP session and you compare blips in the data to
Yeah.
when the questions were answered, and find out, okay, statistically, did they answer the questions or not? And
Mhm.
believe it or not, we do occasionally at some locations get far higher than chance.
Right.
Like way higher. So
Yeah.
things obviously happen in that manner.
Mhm.
But then again, it seems like the more higher advanced the lab equipment, the more steady the readings are,
Mhm.
the less stuff you tend to get.
Yeah.
But the stuff that you get is way higher quality, and so you
Mhm.
might go to 5 locations and get almost nothing, but then you'll hit the 6th one and you'll be like, holy crap. It's like they almost answered every question. They did everything.
Mhm.
They even said, okay, if you do this question, make this one lower, and then the next time make it higher, they'll do that. I mean,
Oh,
we've had
wow.
it times even where going from multiple locations, I don't know if things followed or what happened, but
Right.
you could mention those previous locations and then you'd see blips in the data just while you were talking about the previous location.
That
Huh.
was cool. Yeah, that was
So there's some
Yeah.
crazy
Yeah.
things goes on. But of course, the good thing about a computer is it doesn't have bias. It doesn't get tired. It can
Mhm.
record every second, all
That's
26
interesting.
sensors.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and that would goes into like, as people say that energy or things from a past location can actually transfer
Mhm.
through your
sure,
equipment to a new location.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
that
evidently,
actually is so. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
brilliant. That's brilliant.
and of
Yeah.
course the nice thing about it is you have hard data in the end. I keep every byte of data and every bit of video I've ever made. So if somebody
Mhm.
says, hey, well, you're at that location, did you guys get anything? I can go back and look. The other thing is if you do come up with stuff, you can replay it for people. You don't have to do the anecdote kind of thing. You don't have to, make it a story. Right. You can just be like, all right, there's the data, there's the video, there's the analysis of the statistics. Yes
Love
or
it.
no,
Yeah. It's a very fine-tuned piece of equipment.
And we've used it long enough now that I know how its quirks. I know how it works. I know when I see certain things. I know what happens to it, etc.
Yeah.
So,
that's perfect. Yeah.
So I would build them and sell them, but they take so much time. I mean, you're talking weeks to build the thing, and test it and write the software for it and etc. And then again, finding people that have the math background and numbers crunching abilities to actually do something with the output is difficult too. So if you know what you're doing, it's a great tool. If you don't have a strong background in math and science, it probably won't be as useful.
Yeah, right. When he talks about numbers, it's just it's pretty in depth.
You can find one of our previous shows if you go back through the YouTube ways where I actually did a whole session on the board and I showed it.
Oh, cool.
He explains it to the nth degree. Yeah. And everybody would probably like that to understand exactly how that thing works. But the whole time, the underlining statement for that is that it's an unbiased situation. Yeah. There is nobody there's not a physical, interference with, a person to interfere with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and of course, you don't have pareidolia, you don't have ideomotor effect, you don't have any of those.
Right.
The things that get the ghost hunters a lot of times. They're not
One of my favorite things to do is with any new equipment is to test it out in a completely what I think is non-haunted location.
Yes, you got to do
that.
Let's
find what I can get where there's nothing to get.
Yep.
Right.
That's great. I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. Now, how do you feel about cemeteries? There's different paranormal people that go to cemeteries and stuff. I have, but I mean, out of total respect. I mean, the only cemetery that I really go to is the one where a third of my family are buried in. But but I did that a little bit, and I don't know. I got some evidence here and there, but it just, I don't know. What are your thoughts on people doing that?
I'm both sides. I'm definitely both sides of the fence. I do believe that cemeteries are a place where people are supposed to visit, and they're made park-like for a reason. And that's I grew up a little bit in Scotland, so that's a little bit of that background coming out, and I think that it's absolutely fine. Now, I mean, are we supposed to go and be investigating? I can't even say the word. How can I do the act? But now we have done some investigations in cemeteries. We have. I'm not going to say that we haven't. Do I think that that's
not like a mainstay normalcy?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like when I see a team who is like that's their main thing, no, you got to be respectful, and you have to be respectful of what's going on there, and especially now. And this is actually interesting that you brought this up, because here in Vancouver there is a cemetery who's asked that there's no recreational stuff going on, that there's no tours, there's no anything, just for COVID and for the people that are trying to do burials. And then a local team tried to do like a Halloween event there. And I'm like, no, like the cemetery itself has said no. So I think in that level, absolutely not. You should not be doing it. I think that if there's something there that is I mean, hey, if you and your buddy want to go out to the cemetery and have fun, then go and do it.
Sure.
But I don't think that we should be making these big events and inviting the public and saying, hey, let's go.
I guess the way I look at it is probably none of the people that are in the cemetery died there. So number one, they've been pretty quiet. I've done a few of them, mostly little tiny cemeteries out in the middle of the country that have like maybe 50 gravestones total. you know, and I would go in and just quietly do one by myself or with a friend. And most of the time they're pretty calm. Although we did get one that was able to change the temperature of a headstone, which was like probably 500 pounds of rock, you know, and it could change it like 10 degrees in 5 minutes, which,
wow,
you know, with, you know, that's with an actual thermometer right on. It's like, okay. And then they were able to put it back. So, I mean, things do happen.
Things do happen.
For the most part, I just look at it as dry spot because, like I say, they didn't die there. They might have been, their remains might have been put there, but their spirits probably wherever they passed.
Where I have a little bit of trouble with that is, exactly. They didn't die there, but there are a lot of cultures and belief systems where people are buried with their most, you know, let's just say their favorite possessions or the things that are dear to them. So if they are going to come back, they're going to come back and go to those things. So I don't think that any way that we should ever be.
No, I don't know if anybody saw that story. I don't know if it was on Facebook or just online itself, but there was a guy that was buried on his Harley. His Harley Davidson. He was buried in a crypt with him sitting on his Harley. I thought that's a great idea.
Pretty awesome.
There's also a guy who was buried in his Cadillac. You know, he had a 1970 whatever Cadillac. He was buried in it. That's kind of cool. You know,
I should just embed the sensors in my coffin and put the wires up so anybody can come up and plug in.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
When I was a child, I had an obsession with weird things people were buried in. So it's like when you're saying these things, I'm like, oh,
yeah,
like of course. Why would you not want your burial to be, you know,
extravagant like that? Yeah,
exactly.
Especially if you're going to be buried. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, and I think is it in Connecticut or somewhere where there's like a view right down to the grave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you can't actually see down there at this point now. It's all kind of washed over and such.
Yeah.
But it's like just like things like that. I would go to cemeteries for that.
Right.
But I think that these people are doing that for us to go.
Oh yeah. To have visitors, you know.
It's not all for them.
Some of the headstones that people, you know, create now, you know, I mean, even back in the day, you see some of these old ones. I saw one. I don't know, I was watching a television show, and part of this was they were in a cemetery, and they had this angel that was leaning over this big slab of stone crying, and I just thought that was just an amazing headstone.
Yeah.
You know, it was an actual cemetery, but it just caught my eye because it's like people will go to great lengths to make their, I don't know, I guess, it's like social media page. You know, you want it's like your last page.
Yeah.
It's like the last page you create in your life, and you want it to be so people can say, "Oh, hey, I know that person, and that's really cool," or you know, or that's something like that. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I've seen some great. I love cemeteries. I love gravestones. I love walking among the tombstones like that.
Yes.
To read in descriptions and I actually worked in a. This is actually a ghost story. I worked years ago for a city in Nebraska, and it was a big cemetery, but it was a small town, and I was in charge of mowing the cemetery, taking care of the grounds and all this other stuff. Now, I was on a riding lawnmower, and we were on the back section with the new stones that were flat, so you could run over the gravestones because they weren't upright. So I would be doing my long loop around this, and when I got to this one headstone, my mower would die. My lawnmower would die. And I'd be like, okay, so I would, you know, start it back up and then continue back. And it wasn't until I got off that headstone, the 3 passes, was my mower would still run. Every other time, as soon as I got across that, the thing would shut off. Well, then I come to find out that when I went back into office, or you know, back to the shop, they said, "Oh, you were over so and so's grave, weren't you?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Yeah, he doesn't like people mowing over his grave, so he shuts your mower off." So I just thought that was weird, you know. You know, so and I had to test that theory every time. It would just, And there was nothing in the ground that would make it die.
No.
I mean, it didn't die anywhere else in the cemetery except for that man's gravestone.
That's
As
crazy.
soon as I would
Wow.
go over it, it would just shut off. My whole mower, disengage the blades, the whole 9 yards. It was very hard to get that part mowed.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, I had to come at it at different angles to make sure that it was mowed. You know what I mean?
You need one of those push road like the Amish.
Right.
There's one place in BC. It's right by Barkerville, BC. It's a little town called Wells, BC, and there is one house there, and there's like a lottery that the whole like it's not even a city. It's like a little town, not even a village. It's like under 500 people at like when it's in season, but they do a lottery system for people to mow this guy's lawn. And the house is completely abandoned. Nobody will go in the house. Nobody will mow the lawn other than when they're picked. Because when you're mowing the lawn, he shows himself. Well,
really?
as a ghost, but not.
Right.
Stop. He will appear. So when I was out there, and the first time that I went out there, and they call them all bootstraps, and I was out there in the 90s, and I was like, well, let's go. Let's go, grab your mowers, let's go. And we got there, and the fellow who had the keys, he gave me the keys and then waited like kitty corner, not even across the street, like kitty corner, was like, have at her, not going. And I was like, what do you mean? You know? And I went and I tried to take other people. No one from that little town like would go even into the yard, let alone into the house. And I was like, it was like probably one of the only times that I actually stopped and was like, should I go in? But I was like, should I go in?
Right.
It was but it was like mowing the lawn. And so that story reminded me of that. And then there's another. I'll keep talking. I have more minutes. No,
go ahead.
There's a graveyard out by us as well, where I had the most terrifying experience of my life, and I'm saying that honestly. Was it a ghost? I don't know. Was it? It was. For a while I thought it was like an alien. It was such an odd experience. It was almost like that kind of night crawler. Like it was just like night walker, like just strange. But it felt horrible. Like it felt horrible. What I witnessed felt horrible, and it was in between. There was like 2 tombstones on either way, and then a big a staircase all the way down. And what I saw was floated all the way from the top. It was like this graveyard's on a hill, and it floated from the top all the way down. And I just sat there, and the whole time I saw what I saw, it was like a procession. All I heard in my head, which this part that terrified me, was, you should not be seeing this. You should not be seeing this. And that was in a graveyard. So when people say there's nothing in graveyards, for me, there are. And and this is right in the middle of UFO and Sasquatch territory in BC, and I've never seen anything like it. I probably never will.
Have you been by there at all recently?
I have. I went there with Coldspotters a few times, and it brought it up to them about how absolutely terrified I was, and they're very, very thoughtful, because there's times where they can go in there and I can't. Like I can go like a few steps in, and immediately I have that voice again saying,
"Really,
you should not be here." And I'm like,
interesting.
You know, and it's there's only so much that I can say to people to say, we got to go. And then like, no, you have to be brave. You have to face your fears. And I did all that, but then there's something.
Would you think that there was something connected with the land with that affects you in a negative way? That's legitimate. That's a legitimate statement that whatever's telling you, you shouldn't be seeing this. You don't need to be here or be, So, because that's what I get. I get when you talk about that, I get the land, like, she does. This is someplace she doesn't need to be, type deal. You know what I mean? So, because I've been at different cemeteries. Well, even my cemetery that my mom and my father and my grandparents are buried in. my grandfather was not a nice man, and when I was standing next to his wife, well, his ex-wife, my grandmother, I looked over at my grandfather's grave, and the first thing that I heard was no, off limits. And so I couldn't even research into it because of the fact that me being a medium, I connect with certain loved ones, and that was my grandmother basically said, "Oh no, don't even do it." So it's like you don't need to focus on that. So when you say that about this is something you shouldn't see, I could totally relate to that feeling. You know, and so that's why I asked you if it's for you. I would say that it's more you're really connected with the land, and I get that. There's something about you that there's this connection with the land, and I don't when I think of
the heritage.
Yeah, when I think of your name like it's just like a strong like I hear like strong warrior, like a very I don't know. Your roots go deep, so that's
They do.
Yeah, you know what I mean. So I think that you can relate to that. I know you can relate to that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I did go back there with a medium, and she said the reason why they can't pick up what you're getting is because they're not you.
Right.
And this is your connection. And so exactly what you're saying. They're like, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's because of you. You know, and that's exactly right. So, but yeah, you've got this really cool, I don't know what it is, but this cool vibe of being connected with Mother Earth and the whole 9 yards. I don't know what it is, but it's cool to see. And
it's cool. Thank you for saying that.
There's a reason why I had you on the show. So yeah, you know, I mean, it's just every once in a while I'll be like, you know, I need to ask that person, or I need to ask. And we talked about that about 4 months ago. That I'm like, I need to ask you to be on the show. So you know, so yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Great.
Yeah.
On the animal spirit side, I mean, we talk a lot about the people spirits, but
yeah,
I mean,
I love animal spirits. I really do. Yeah. I have a good connection with animal spirits, and
see, I don't get to experience any of that, so I just have to kind of be like, "Yep, that's what they said."
Yeah. I had one. It was actually kind of funny. We had one investigation where they said there's a cat. There's a cat around here. So the whole investigation, and when we listen back to any of the recordings, it's ridiculous because I'm like, they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "That's like universal. Come hither for a cat."
Yes, I have a lot of cats, so I know.
Yeah.
So
I did that, and throughout that investigation, I got one where I'm just sitting there and nothing, and then boom, 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 like against the door. Boom, boom, and it wasn't like someone was trying to bust in a door. It was like a cat trying to get in at one point. And the other point, I'm sitting there, and the video's right on me, which is great. And I'm sitting there, and then you hear this, and then in real life, I felt something jump beside me, and for whatever reason,
that's cool.
It shocked me.
It
startled me, so I jump up and I'm like, "Holy beep!" and I run. I'm like, "Great! I'm glad that's on video."
Nice. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, animal. I have cats, and Shane has cats.
Yeah, I got cats.
I have an outside cat. Actually, it's like half in, half out. His name's Spike. He's like 20 years old, but I mean, he's a black cat, and my wife loves him and adores him, and the feeling's mutual. And he came to me when I was having health issues. He showed up on my doorstep, and he's been like a therapy cat, you know. So I think that when he goes, he's not going anywhere. I just know. I think he'll just be like more than happy to hang out. You know, she has a couple cats that are buried in the yard. Anyways, we have one that actually comes in the house that's been dead for years and terrorizes the two cats that are inside because they all run like chickens, you know. So we usually know when Pumpkin's in the house. And my wife doesn't like the paranormal like that, but when it comes to like a spirit cat, she's okay with it. I'm like, well okay. But so yeah. But yeah, talking about spirit animals in that sense, it's an awesome. I love that whole animals in itself. I mean, just
Hmm.
the whole. But yeah, do you have dogs?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. We have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and 2 fish.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
nice.
There
yeah,
you
and
go.
we're going for hedgehogs next. So
Hedgehog.
yeah,
Interesting.
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Very animal centric around here.
No birds. You don't have any birds.
No, no. I used to have birds, but not anymore.
They're
But I
too
do have
noisy. My
two
friends have birds.
eagles live right across the river. Like there's a little island on the river, and there's 2 big bald eagles that live there.
Oh,
And
That's
my
very
wife would,
cool.
yeah.
would would never leave. I mean, she would
Oh
just
yeah.
sit there. Oh,
We
she
just
just
sit at the yeah. We just watch them and
That's
yeah.
yeah,
cool.
it's great. Just hearing them
Yeah,
and yeah.
we have a nest by us too, and yeah, there's a couple of them actually. And when I was
Mhm.
up north fishing up in Mercer, Wisconsin, I was fishing and I in the early mornings and I had a eagle swoop down over my head, looking to steal
Mm.
my fish that I thought I had on my line. But yeah, that was pretty cool. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Mhm.
hmm But so what do you have coming up?
Well, just gonna continue on. Just doing the investigations. We actually just did a huge Halloween season of ghost tours in New Westminster. So we kind of
Okay.
have taken a little bit of time off, but yeah, we've lots of investigations coming up. We want to do some more public events as we open up, and um, for Cold Spotters, we have about 3 or 4 teams that are about to join, and just trying to get everything organized. Which I mean, since we're live here, I mean, if anyone wants to kind of join up and help out, that's the big thing that I need right now is I need help.
Anything
How big is Cold Spotter? How
we
is it? I mean, is it just one group or is it all over the nation?
we're international now, so we have actually 30, how many teams? 32, 34?
Wow.
34 teams
Wow.
internationally. So mhm.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, so we have a few up in Canada. Mostly we're throughout the states right now, but then we also are in Netherlands, Croatia. We're over in New
Wow.
Zealand. So
See,
yeah,
we have a hard time
it's
finding half a dozen people, let alone a whole
Right?
place.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't even find three. So,
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah.
but yeah.
So and all we like, I mean, we don't need people to quit their teams or anything like that. We just want to kind of like spread the wisdom and the joy of the
Right,
paranormal.
right, right.
sure.
Hmm.
I agree.
Well, and we're about out of time. Why don't you kind of give us, your websites or your locations where people can contact you and find you?
Well, we are. Oh my gosh, we're on Facebook. I mean, just come find me, Amanda Quill, and we are. We have groups like throughout. So if you actually just put in Cold Spotters wherever you are, there's probably a team there. So just join up. Or Cold Spotters
Okay.
Vancouver is the one where I'm through, or the Carolinas.
Okay.
Hmm.
Awesome. You have an Instagram account?
Yes, Cold Spotters, and then we're underscore because somebody tried to steal our Cold Spotters
Ooh,
Don't you
that's
hate
picture.
rude.
people that
So
do
if there's
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So if you find at Cold Spotters, that's not us anymore, unfortunately. We're at Cold Spotters and then underscore.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you very
Yeah,
much for coming on. This has been
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank
I
you
mean,
for having me.
this has
yeah.
been a lot of fun, and
Mhm.
we hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
this is
Anytime.
great. So,
Hmm.
everybody, I'm gonna be making an announcement here shortly. So, we want to everybody thank Amanda for coming on, and we
Thank you.
will see her again.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you. All right. So the announcement that I want to make, we have a show coming up next weekend. Um, it's a special guest. So I have Natalie Jones from Paraplex, CEO of Paraplex. She's going to be on next Sunday at 6 p.m. So that's the big announcement. It's going to be a great show. It's been long overdue. Um, I've been trying to have her to come on the show for a while, but conflicting schedules. So I was actually able to get the confirmation, and she will be here next week. And it'll be a special show since we're doing 2 shows a month now only. This one I made a special.
It's the bonus show.
It's the bonus show, exactly right. So everybody tune into that next week, and then yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, I'm really excited about this. So we want to thank everybody for watching again tonight and watching Amanda Quill. She was wonderful.
Yes.
And we will talk
excellent.
to you next week.